It is my honor to address you and to participate in marking of Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, a day to remember the horrors of the Holocaust and to commit to keep alive the promise of never again. I want to thank Combat Antisemitism Movement and Zikaron BaSalon initiative for their invitation. I'm addressing you today as the Ombudswoman of the Republic of Croatia, a country that will next year take up the chairmanship of the rotating presidency of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, as the Commissioner of the Croatian Parliament for Protection and Promotion of Human Rights, and the head of the National Equality Body, in charge of promoting equality and fighting discrimination. What I would like to particularly address is the importance of Holocaust education in the struggle against contemporary antisemitism. According to a survey conducted in the European Union in 2018, 9 in 10 Jewish respondents felt that antisemitism had increased in their country in the past 5 years. More than 1 in 4 reported experiencing anti-Semitic harassment at least once in the 12 months prior to being surveyed. I'm coming from a country which knows about the atrocities of the Holocaust, as the regime that ruled during the World War II dehumanized, discriminated, and killed thousands of Jews and others, both in camps in its territory and by deportations to Auschwitz. Unfortunately, one can still see from the graffiti in the streets to the online space messages of support to that regime and hate messages including Nazi symbols. We also see too many young people unaware of history. The presence of anti-Semitism across Europe shows we need more and better educational efforts. Holocaust denial and distortion, as well as stereotypes and prejudices, discrimination of Jewish people, hate speech, hate crimes, and especially worrying amounts of online hate speech used by young people, show we need to seriously step up these educational efforts. Earlier this year, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution that condemns denial and distortion of the Holocaust, which also asks member states to develop programs to educate future generations and urges social media companies to take active measures to combat anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial or distortion. I believe an incredibly worthwhile task is to educate children and young people about the Holocaust, about the suffering caused, about the dangers of propaganda and hate speech that preceded it, the cruelty a human being is capable of perpetrating in the name of ideology. We need to educate on the values of human rights, equality, and solidarity, on the dangers of stereotypes, prejudices, and hate, on political and media literacy. This is also why this event is so special. In the era of fast news and fake news, and faced with instances of historic revisionism, documenting real-life stories of survivors is a way to educate. It is also vital, as this is the last generation of survivors and our last chances to speak to them. Unfortunately, there are many of those whose stories of horrific events and those whose memories of what happened to their loved ones who are no longer with us, whose stories were not recorded. Using technology to capture stories of living survivors is crucial, and we also need to make sure they reach as many people as possible. Conversations with them are even better. They have the power to touch hearts and minds. I therefore wish to express my respect to all Holocaust survivors and gratefulness you're participating in this event. Thank you for sharing your stories. To remember is our duty, but remembrance also needs action. One promising way is through more and better education, and for that we need at least 3 types of action. Quality cooperation between decision makers, educational systems, the Jewish community, civil society organizations, academia, and independent institutions working in human rights and equality. Secondly, organizing systematic and comprehensive education on the Holocaust and on human rights and equality. And thirdly, standing up loudly and consistently to all expressions of anti-Semitism and hatred. Today, we remember the past, but also for the present and the future. Let today also be the day we commit to educate new generations about the Holocaust and the importance of fighting hatred.